WGAL News 8 Today starts now.
It is 4:30. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Barcaro.
I'm Caitlin Smith, joined by Chief Meteorologist Christine Ferreira. I went outside last night a little after 5.
I did too.
Looked up and all I saw were clouds.
Yeah, I didn't see
so
it.
no northern lights for me.
No northern lights in the early part of the evening, but some folks did see them
Yeah.
later in the evening.
Okay.
So it was a tough sell there yesterday, unfortunately, with the clouds. Let me show you what we have outside this morning. Right now, things are quiet. We have a couple of clouds, especially across our northeasternmost counties. Otherwise, it is clear to the south and west. Temperatures are in the 40s right now because we've had some clouds overnight. And in addition, we also have that breeze. So we're still battling a brisk breeze at about 10 to 20 miles per hour, and that will keep up today out of the northwest. Our high today, 52 degrees, looking good. We'll see partly to mostly sunny skies throughout the day. Should be a dry one for us, and the breeze will diminish late. We'll talk more about weekend showers coming up in my full forecast.
Thank you, Christine. Well, this morning, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history and the state budget impasse of more than 130 days have both come to an end.
And both signed by Governor Shapiro, of course, in the state, and President Trump in the U.S.
So the spending bill for the state is $50.1 billion. The state budget impasse forced essential workers across the counties and the Commonwealth to tap into reserves or borrow funds to try to keep operations going.
That include Dauphin County, where commissioners there say the overdue state budget cost them thousands.
At minimum, it's cost us $400,000 in interest earnings that we would have had on savings that we've had to deploy for the purpose of ensuring that our employees get paid.
Now, commissioners were getting ready to open a $15 million credit line to pay county employees, but they tabled that resolution just hours before the state budget was passed. School districts in Dauphin County also felt the sting of not having state funding for months. The Harrisburg School District says it lost also around $400,000.
By the time the money starts flowing, we've already lost those months of that being in the bank. That is $400,000 we will never see back.
The district says that is money, of course, you just saw her, heard her say that they cannot recoup, but it expects $4 million for basic education funding in the newly passed budget.
And in the next half hour, News 8's Gabrielle Thomas will be live with reaction from the executive director of PA Rural and Small Schools with how the funding delay could still impact this school year, even with the budget passed now.
So that second signing is yesterday from President Trump to reopen the federal government. His signature came shortly after the House voted to send him that bill. During the signing, the president also said he's willing to work with both parties to find a solution on health care, though he says it would not involve the Affordable Care Act.
So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved, and we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care, and we're going to forget this Obamacare madness.
Well, all 4 U.S. Republican congressmen from the Susquehanna Valley voted in favor of the bill to reopen the federal government, and we are hearing from some of them who are blaming Democrats for the shutdown. Congressman Lloyd Smucker sent us a statement saying in part that history will not be kind to Democrats. And on X, Congressman Dan Mueser posted, "It's time to fix the damage Democrats have caused." On the other side of the aisle, Democrat Summer Lee, who serves the Pittsburgh area, voted against the bill, also posting on X, quote, "I could not in good faith support capitulating to false promises that will hurt people in the long run." Fellow Democrat Chrissy Houlihan, who covers Chester County and parts of Berks County, also voted against the bill. She issued a statement as well saying, "I cannot support legislation that intentionally harms the majority of Americans while rewarding billionaires and lawmakers themselves."
And now that the government is reopened, people are thinking about when the money will start flowing again. More services are becoming available with the return of furloughed federal employees. They're set to get back pay, and some experts expect there could be an economic rebound as well. For people using the Affordable Care Act subsidies, though, the reopening of the government could mean their health insurance costs will more than double and even go beyond that in some cases. The bill that was passed, as we mentioned, does not guarantee an extension of those expiring health care subsidies. Flight cuts are also now frozen at 6%. It's not clear when flight schedules will return to normal, though, and SNAP benefits, as we've been covering, should also be available again soon.
Well, both the federal government shutdown and the state budget impasse did impact those who do need help in the Susquehanna Valley buying food. had those SNAP benefits. Several organizations that work to feed Pennsylvanians are celebrating the passages of both of those budgets. They say it's been a tough time over the past 135 days without a state budget, especially with some of the federal funds also being withheld for part of that time. So in the state budget, the food purchase program does get an increase of more than $30 million. And one of the organizations that will benefit is Hunger Free Pennsylvania. It says this had not come at a better time. It says it's seen hunger surge due to higher costs for food and other essentials, and obviously those SNAP benefits being slashed. But it says the fight against food security, even with the budget passed, is not over.
While the budget is passed and the increases are in place, we're certainly not out of the woods. The surge in demand, with rising prices and with uncertainty still in federal programs, our charitable food system is more vital than ever.
As for that extra $30 million, Hunger Free Pennsylvania says it's not sure when it will get its part of that money. And happening today, HAC's unionized faculty will continue contract negotiations with the college. The two sides last talked Tuesday night for more than 7 hours. And while an agreement hasn't been reached, a union representative says significant progress was made. The union says it's hoping to reach an agreement at tonight's meeting. It says its members haven't had a raise in 3 years, while others have. The union is also asking the college for back pay for the last 3 years.
And the union representing Starbucks baristas has authorized a strike, and unionized workers could go on strike today. It says Starbucks has not offered a new proposal addressing workers' demands for more staffing and higher pay. There are 4 unionized Starbucks in the Susquehanna Valley. All of them are in Lancaster County. This threat of a strike comes as Starbucks is holding its Red Cup Day today, launching its winter-themed drinks. In Lancaster, the construction is underway for an AI data center, but residents in Lancaster still asking questions about the project, and some are still skeptical about it. The data center's developer, Carissa Technology Parks, met with those residents at the Ware Center last night to give them a space to come together and meet them and ask questions. Project managers continue to advocate for the project despite some residents continuing to share their concerns.
So far, pretty positive. People have some very good questions, and we're hopefully answering those in a transparent manner.
I don't feel I'm getting the specific answers I'm asking about when I bring up Forever Chemicals, which is in the news for other reasons. How they are showing up in the space of data centers, they are not prepared to answer that, and that to me is very concerning.
The project on Greenfield Road is in its first phase of development. It's expected to be finished in 2027. The second proposed center would be on Harrisburg Pike.